Hi everyone, my name is Sierra Burris and we're going to begin talking about Chapter 8, Problem Solving and Decision Making. So in this chapter, we're going to discuss decision making and how it's different from problem solving. We're going to discuss the rational approach to decision making, the behavior aspects of decision making, and the group decisions making and creativity and how it relates to decision making and problem solving. So let's go to the next slide so that we can begin. The textbook describes decision making as choosing one alternative from among several. We all make decisions every day, but let's go for an example of, let's choose a person who is searching for an apartment. This person has a few potential options and they start to assess each one, beginning with the amenities, the cost of rent, the location of the apartments, and then from there, once they assess all of the options that they have, that's when they'll choose the best fit for him or her based on their requirements. And once the assessment is complete, the person will decide and select the best apartment for them. So what is problem solving? Problem solving is finding the answer to a question. But note that in some situations, problem solving and decision making can begin the same, but eventually they're going to go down their own separate paths. So, what do we call people who make decisions? It's so easy, decision makers. The decision maker chooses alternatives based on his or her evaluation. Let's go to the next slide. Next, we're going to discuss the different types of decisions. Not much time is spent on these types of decisions. So let's begin with the first one, and that's program decision. And the textbooks describe program decisions. They occur often enough for decision rules to be developed. And I just broke this definition down as to meaning straightforward decisions. In the definition, it includes decision rules. So what is a decision rule? It tells decision makers which alternative to choose once they have predetermined information about the decision situation. And another type of decision is a non-program decision. This decision reoccurs infrequently and for which there is no previously established decision rule. Non-program decisions usually take longer to decide. An example of a non-program decision is that someone may go to a restaurant that they're unfamiliar with and the menu is in a different language that they don't understand. So it might take them a little longer to make a decision. And that's just a non-program decision. So let's go to the next slide. In decision making, we have a condition of certain, and this is where the decision maker has the information to make a decision. And then we have a condition of risk, and this is where the decision maker cannot know for certain what the outcome of the decision may be, but they have enough information to come up with the possibilities of what the outcome may be. Then we have a condition of uncertainty, and this is where the decision maker has no information. Many of the unknowns, you can't predict the expected results of it, so that's your condition of uncertainty. Now let's go to the next slide. Next, we're going to look at the rational approach to decision making. The process is often suggested as a way which decisions should be made. So let's look at how the steps are broken down into. So step one, we have your statement of the situation goal, which simply is a goal for whatever the situation is. Step two, we identify the problem. And the textbook defines this as gathering information for the goal. Step three is to determine the decision type. So we talked about how there's two types of decisions, and that's programmed or non-program decisions. And in this step, with step 3, we're going to see a split. If a program decision is needed, then we will apply the decision rule. And if a non-program decision is needed, then we will generate all possible alternatives. And from there, you will evaluate the best possible alternative. And in this step, usually it's one that is simple, or it can be a poor decision based on if you choose the right decision type or if you don't choose the right decision type. So in step 4, we are choosing an alternative with the highest possible payoff. So you want to choose the one that's going to get you the most. In step 5, we implement the plan, and this is where we just basically put our decision into action. And our final step is the control. Here we want the outcomes of the decision to compare and measure to the desired goal. We may make a few adjustments in this step just to make them turn out right, and sometimes we even have to start from the beginning. So let's just take a little breath, because that's a lot of information, and we're going to move on to the next slide. And we're going to discuss the behavior approach for decision making. So here's where we acknowledge the role and importance of human behavior in the decision making process. I'm sure many of us had a time frame to make a decisions. And the textbook actually describes this as a bonded rationality. And a bonded rationality is the idea that although individuals may look for the best solution to a problem, sometimes all of the information may not be there, and it may be beyond their capabilities. And we also go through the administrative model, which is characterized using procedure and rules of thumb. During this step in the model, uncertainty decision can be reduced. The next step consists of sub-optimizing, which is accepting less than the possible outcome. Lastly, we recognize satisficing, and this is when you examine your alternative to only select the one that best meets the minimum requirements. And with behavior decision making, sometimes our political views, our intuition, our commitment, and ethics play a role in the way that we make decisions. And of course, we've all worked in groups. In many groups, we have different attitudes, and sometimes opinions occur, and this is called group polarization, and it occurs when the average number of group members post discussions tend to be more extreme than the average pre-discussion attitudes. And how many of you have been in a deep group conversation? And this is called groupthink, and this is where the decision may not be the best decision for the goal that we're trying to accomplish. And sometimes in groups, we all know that there could be a lack of participation and group problem solving that may occur. So let's go to our next slide. And finally, we're going to discuss creativity. Many managers and organizations take their creativity to make decisions. The creative process happens to many people in a spark of a moment, or they think that it happens in a spark of a moment. So here's the breakdown of it. Your first step is preparation. And in the preparation stage, it usually consists of formal training and education. The next step is incubating, and this is where you're just basically baking all of your information together. And your next step is insight, and that represents a coming together of all scattered thoughts and ideas from the baking of your incubation. And then your last step is verification, which is the test of validity or truthfulness. So my question to you guys is, and it's on the last slide, in the business world, describe a time when you make an important decision, and what was the result of that decision. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned a lot about decision making. Thank you.